Thanks for joining me on About Alberta Tech, which is focused on introducing Alberta tech companies to Albertans. Our goal is to share the innovation and diversity that exists in this province in small bites. My name is Lenora Thomas, and today I'm joined by John Murphy, CEO at Bio-Stream Diagnostics. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So let's start with some background on you. How did you get into tech?
Okay, so, I've been in tech all my life. We started on the software side, and I ran mostly software companies, some quite successfully and with exits. And I also got into hardware a little bit because I figured, how hard can hardware be? and that was a bit of an eye opener because hardware is hard. So then we kind of got back into software, and now with Bio-Stream, we're kind of back a little bit in a bit of a mix.
Okay, so what does Bio-Stream do?
So Bio-Stream is a diagnostic company that's focused on, our first project is to detect COVID-19. And yeah, so what we did is, and it's a platform technology. It's based on Raman spectroscopy. And so it can do more than COVID. I mean, it can detect. Raman has been around for years. It's useful in food, the industry, food safety, detecting things like bacteria and whatnot, pesticides. Pharmaceutical industry uses it all the time. The medical, the military folks use it for chemical and explosive detections, those kinds of things.
Okay. And so with this new company, you're looking for COVID.
Yeah. So our background is with a company called Stream ML, and you have to catch the other side of that. But we specialize there in deep learning, and specifically, we're really good at analyzing spectral data. And spectral data comes from spectrometers. So one of the things that we just know is that a Raman spectrometer, a special kind, has been able to detect viruses. That's not new. And granted, some of the equipment's been a little bit more expensive in the past, but Raman spectroscopy has been able to do this. So one of the things that we did early on here is I got in touch with a group called Biomark, and Biomark's out of Vancouver, and they have historically been able to use Raman spectroscopy to detect cancer and the early detection of cancer. Markers in lungs. And so it kind of just made some sense that if we had a group that knew how to kind of detect and had done this in the past, a signal for using Raman technology, and they could actually be able to detect and get a signal from a virus, and then we could do some analytics on that signal and clean it up and be able to effectively know that this was, COVID-2 and not some other virus. And if we could then do that, where the results would come back really fast, and it was accurate, and it was cheap, then we're on to something. And so we had a look at that, and we realized that with the way that spectrometers, Raman spectrometers, have dropped in price and increased in sensitivity, that's just a whole trend that's fantastic. And then when we've got specialized neural nets that can actually do the analytics, if we put that together, we should be able to detect at the molecular level COVID virus in like 30 seconds. And that would be game changing, because right now kind of the state of the art is PCR, and that goes anywhere from about 36 hours, and that's what we get even in the province today. Yeah. Down to 20 minutes, we're using some of the state-of-the-art PCR from Abbott Labs and what they got going at the White House. But that's not 30 seconds.
No.
And we said, if you're going to really get this economy, and not our economy just, but the Canadian economy, the US, the world is hurting here. And a 30-second test that had the same accuracy as PCR would be game changing. And so what we did is we put together a team, and there's about, just over a dozen PhDs, everybody from specialists in Raman, and we've got virologists, genomics folks, we've got people that in the machine learning side, we've got people that are on the clinical side and on the regulatory side. And when you put all these folks together and you start to look at just solving a problem in a way that we could get this done fairly quickly and then get it approved, because you got to get the regulatory approval.
That's a big part.
That's a big part. And then we could look at actually how would we really get that built. And so we partner with the manufacturer of the spectrometers so that wouldn't be a holdup. And they're a larger company, so they can do support and distribution globally. And we put all that together. We start to have the makings of just a very interesting value for the world right now. And the world needs something like this. They need testing, they need it to be accurate, and they need it to be really fast. And the other thing is, it's just, I see that the cost of these tests today are typically like $50, sometimes as high as $100, sometimes more. Like, well, why couldn't we, if we could get the consumable down really quite low, and then we can do the analytics, maybe we could just deliver the whole thing for, our target is $1. And so if we could get a 30-second molecular test with the same accuracy as PCR for $1, then I think that we're really doing something here. And yeah, so that's what we're attempting.
That is amazing. Is it still based on the very long nose implement, or is it easier than that?
Yeah, good question. So the sample is, we're looking at saliva, so you can just kind of spit on the stick sort of thing. But we're also looking at throat swabs, and we're also looking at nasal swabs, because there's different concentrations of the virus at different times. And one of the things that we want to be able to do is we want to be able to detect this early, because I think your most contagious, pre-symptom. And so we want to be able to detect this very early on while you're in that contagious kind of state and don't even know it.
Yeah. Well, that would definitely be a game changer. So where are you guys in terms of the development of the testing?
Yeah, so right now, as of today, we've got the hardware. And we sent it to we're partnered with UBC, and so it's over in Dr. Bach's lab. We've hired PhD students and folks to start gathering the data. So right now where we're at is we've been gathering some data. It's looking pretty interesting. We've got to gather more data and just make sure that we can really see the signal. That's kind of the game on the science. And so we'll be a few more weeks, to the end of July, maybe beyond, maybe not. That's kind of the whole thing about the research aspect of this science is if we can get that nailed, then we'll have something pretty interesting, pretty valuable, not only to us as a company, but to the world. So that's where we're at. We'll know kind of, within some weeks as to how it goes, and we're not going to just have it all, day one. What we anticipate is we're going to run into some problems that somewhere, because you always do. Always. And so one of the things that we've done, which is we've created a very collaborative kind of company here. So we're working with people in the US, we're working with a group out of Qatar, we're talking to people around the world, right? And the idea of this is that there are experts all around the world, and they know their little bit of knowledge that if we run into a problem, they can help us get over the hump quickly and move on. So we've kind of set it up this thing where when we run into a problem we don't know how to get past. So far we've got like, over a dozen PhDs, and they haven't kind of hit the problems yet, but they will, let's say. Mm-hmm. We go out to the world because we've got these kinds of contacts, and we just get past it and we move on, and we do it quickly. And the attitude out there globally has been just overwhelmingly supportive. It's like, how can I help? How can I help right now? Yeah, and so it's just been fantastic. So this is about coordinating the efforts and the knowledge of some really clever people that can go together and get this done. And that's through the challenges of labs being closed and lack of people, and but it's really kind of interesting to see that come together.
I bet. And I mean, if you can get something that is a cheaper test and that is a faster test, that literally could make a change everywhere.
Yeah. No, I think it really just helps to, open up not only economies, but you just look at things like nursing homes, and these folks are stuck there. It's just not, and I talked to a guy yesterday, and he doesn't have that big a problem. He can't go to work because his office tower only allows 4 people in the elevator. Okay, just the whole idea is, whether it's a school or whether it's an office tower or a food processing place or a distribution, as you walk through the door, you get a 30-second test. Everyone beyond that front door is COVID negative. And that could be, the entertainment. It could be, we should be talking to the Oilers, right? So that we can get back to at least past the front door, there would be no need to social distance, and kind of back to a bit of normalcy. And so many applications, and not just here, globally.
Yeah, I would like to be back in real life. Yeah. And anything that helps with that would be amazing. Okay, so you're gathering the data, you're building it up over the next couple of weeks. When do you think something in its initial stage could be launched?
Well, so once we get a certain amount of proof that this works, and we get the clinical processes, the SOPs, like there's a process to this, and then it goes through. We've got labs set up at our willing to now start testing our system against PCR. So like the Vancouver General Hospital has stepped up, and I'm sure there's places in Alberta here too that will step up. And so then we start to gather more of that information, that data, those comparison things. We need 500 samples to show consistently, so that we can then take that through to the regulatory process through Health Canada and get approval as a Class 3 device. So, I anticipate that's going to be a couple more months. Yeah. And that would be maybe a little optimistic. So, sometime in the fall, if we had, that would be the, kind of the best we could hope for.
Yeah. Okay. And what else do you think our community should know about you and about Bio-Stream?
So I think what they should know about Bio-Stream is that this is a collaborative kind of play. It really is. And folks, they might think, well, what can I do? How can I help? And I'll tell you, one of the things you can do is you can just tell people about what's going on here, because there are folks that can support this. You might know somebody who knows somebody who's a scientist that we might need. You might know somebody that wants to be an investor and just wants to help support this so that we can move faster. So what I just say is go to bio-stream.ca and just sign up there, because there's a way to sign up. And all we want to do is just you sign up to basically say, hey, maybe I can just spread the word to a couple friends, and that's something. And and so I would really just encourage people to do that, because you might not think it's that big a deal, but when you get a certain mass of folks that are just behind something, I think that a lot can happen. And you might not really appreciate your little contribution, but we do. We'll put your name up on the website if you give us permission. And just because it really, this isn't just about us. This is really about a community.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Okay. So what I might like to do is, a couple of weeks or a couple of months from now, maybe we can revisit this and see where you guys are at, and just put an update out.
Yeah. I'd love to keep you up to date. There's certainly some risk here. Things don't happen unless some people are prepared to take a risk, and we're stepping up. And there's some of the some local investors. They realize this might not work, but yet they're stepping up, and so really that's fantastic.
That's huge, especially when you're in that first bit of a startup. It makes all the difference.
Yeah, and when you've got science risk loaded on top, it really speaks volumes of the people who are stepping up.
It does. I think from a business standpoint, there's a lot of people that would love to be involved in something that moves us forward in terms of getting back to real life.
Yeah, and again, put your name on the website, because we want to hear from you. We want to understand how, as we actually do start to roll this out, what are some of the logistical issues that we might hit, and what are some of the ways that you would, as a company, want to see something like that implemented. There's a lot we don't know.
Definitely. Well, love what you're doing, and thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for the opportunity to share the story.